Hi everyone, my name is Molly Tipping and I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner working in Perth, Western Australia. Today I wanted to talk about feeling nauseous when you're doing Feldenkrais movements. So occasionally people will talk about, they've done an awareness through movement lesson, they've done some Feldenkrais movements, or it could even be another modality, but they've done these movements and then they've felt nauseous either during the movement or after at some point. And this can be a really common experience for people who hold a lot of tension. It can be a really common experience for people, particularly who hold tension in the eyes. So it's something that we want to just kind of, keep abreast of and just kind of keep in check with. I work with clients who can have very high nausea responses, which can sometimes lead to vomiting. And this is indicative of a nervous system that is very protective and sensitive to small changes. So if you know that your nervous system is sensitive, that might be the first thing to kind of clock. And then if you kind of recognize, actually, my nervous system is quite sensitive, that then you take sort of some measures to make sure that you keep the movement within a range of change that you recognize the nervous system will tolerate. So there's a few things that we can kind of do to make sure that we stay shy of that nausea response. So a lot of the movements that will elicit that nausea response are going to be to do with the eyes. So if you use your eyes to stabilize, which means you kind of lock onto space and you look at it, and it's almost as if you're kind of seeing the space, you're clocking it, and that's helping you to work out where you are in space. Or you use your eyes to balance. So people kind of look at a point and they feel more balanced, but if they close their eyes, they're going to feel quite unsteady because they're not used to sensing vestibular input or proprioceptive input, or maybe those vestibular and proprioceptive systems are compromised in some way. People who maybe use their eyes a lot for thinking, so the eyes kind of go upward or they kind of go kind of almost inward, might also experience nausea because, when we start moving, the eyes aren't used to kind of tracking the space in that way. So if you were doing eye movements and that's contributing to the nausea, the thing you want to do is just do the smallest amount. Like maybe the practitioner has allowed, sort of 20 to 30 seconds to explore those movements. You might do 5 seconds and just really go very slowly and very kind of small movements. But the other thing with eyes is you want to make sure you're not just moving your eyes, but that when you move them, you're actually tracking and seeing the space. So you see the changing shadows and the colors and the kind of flecks along the ceiling, along the wall. And so that when you're moving your eyes, you merely are maintaining the function of the eye, which is to see. The other thing is sometimes when we do head movements, this is going to impact on your feeling of nausea because then the vestibular system is being, mobilized or perturbed in particular ways. So again, once you move your head, make sure you're kind of really seeing the space so that you use that eye vision system to really get a sense of where you are. And you go slowly enough that you don't jump big sections of the room, but you really see it. Oh yeah, there it is. And you can even linger and go back a little bit, and you don't have to go left to right kind of repeatedly. You can go a little bit one way and then come back and then go again and then linger somewhere. So you can really take your time with it. One of the things that also shows up is often there is a lack of awareness or connection to the ground. So you want to make sure when you're doing Feldenkrais movements that you feel really grounded, that you are tracking the weight moving across the ground. So if I'm looking, I want to see the space, and as I'm turning my head, I want to feel like I'm continuing that ability to see the space. But then I want to see, as I move my head, where do I shift my weight? So I'm going to feel that weight shift in my head, in the chest, in the pelvis area. If I've got my legs, up in a position where I can feel the weight shifting in my legs as well. when we track the ground, the nervous system is so much more settled. So you'll also then be able to feel, I feel like my ground support is not so clear. Okay, come back a little bit there. That's where I feel stable. The other thing as well is to make sure that when we're moving, we're not just thinking forward and back or left and right, but really thinking about the whole skeleton from the toes right through to the top of the head. That when my whole skeleton moves one way, that I'm aware of what my pelvis is doing, what my legs are doing, and I'm not just going left to right in space. I'm going left to right in relation to the ground and in relation to my whole skeleton axially from top to toe. The other thing, of course, is that there are sometimes situations, maybe there's been whiplash, or there might be some kind of neurological condition that is a part of this experience. And of course, in those situations, you're probably best to seek out some professional or one-on-one help, because the nervous system will be particularly sensitive and particularly reactive to those things. Also remember that we suggest, doing Feldenkrais movements at least an hour after you've eaten. When you're eating and you're digesting your food, your nervous system is busy getting all the nutrients out of the food and moving it through your body. And so adding movement to that sometimes is just a counter-productive thing to do when your body's in that rest and digest kind of process. And, just kind of making sure that you take regular pauses. Sometimes when we're doing Feldenkrais, we get really excited and we keep going with movements because they're super fun. But when Moshe teaches, if you've ever kind of been able to listen to him teach, he talks all the time. And this sometimes frustrates people because they think, I just want to get going. But, he makes very specific feedback around this, that he says, I talk a lot. I give you stories a lot because the nervous system needs time to integrate the change. So you might, if you're working on your own and you don't have those kinds of regular pauses, just be more intentional with them. Sit up, stand up, go for a walk, roll over, write in your journal. Give yourself kind of active rest times so that you can check the nervous system is going well with what you're doing. New movements, rolling movements, complex movements can all sort of be a lot for the nervous system to process. And one of the things I suppose you want to think about is, sometimes a new movement might seem really insignificant, but actually it's a huge movement for that nervous system. And that processing time is really the time when the nervous system is actually doing the work of reorganizing those neural connections and working out, well, what does this mean and how do I coordinate that? So sometimes, we do a Feldenkrais class and we're like, wow, I just feel like I've, really done a workout. That was neurologically a huge experience. And often we don't even notice how big the learning is until we stop. It's kind of like going on holidays and, you go on holidays and that's when you realize how busy you've been, because you stop and you turn up to your, your cabin, or you pop up the tent and you just go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And that's when you realize, oh my goodness, I've been working really hard. I didn't even notice I was working so hard. So the rests are really important for noticing how hard we've been working. And they're really important for letting the nervous system process learning. So if you're someone who recognizes you do get that nausea response more than others, get a journal beside you, have a little chair beside you, and get up and walk around and really take the time you need to put those rests or those pauses in place so you can make sure the nervous system is well supported in the learning. So I hope that's useful. I hope that there's a few things in there that you go, oh yeah, that's interesting actually. I didn't think about the eating process or the fact that I have had whiplash. I didn't really think about how I, maybe would be better to look at the space when I'm moving and to really feel the ground. Just have a little play with these ideas and see if they are useful in helping you to kind of put that nausea response out of the picture so that you're able to really enjoy the process of engaging in the Feldenkrais movements. Thanks, everyone. Bye.